Ladies and gents, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. It's us at Engineers. We've got Juha today. Juha is down at a startup called Upvest. They're based in Berlin. So a little bit of a round of applause for our first little startup outside of London and Amsterdam. So thank you for that. Juha, give us a bit of insight into you. Obviously, we're going to dissect Upvest and the embedded finance model, but I'm really keen to hear a little bit more about you and I guess Upvest's mission.
All right. So yeah, thanks for having me. I know we've been in contact for a number of years already, way back in my London times. But yeah, Absolutely. So I've recently came to Berlin and working at Upvest right now. And my background is really like computer science. I'm from Finland originally, but I've been building software things professionally for 21 years now, and I'm still enjoying it. So one of these lucky people who made a hobby and turned it into a career and enjoy every day of it. So I consider myself lucky in that sense. Upvest, we're a small fintech based in Berlin, but really like a pan-European audience. We're building the next generation financial infrastructure, basically. So I don't know how much you follow blockchain, but basically we have a product that sort of founded in the blockchain space, but we're also sort of bridging the gap between the now and the future, basically. So we're building a second pillar to our investment platform for more traditional securities trading stuff. So okay. Our mission is really to enable other builders in the European scene to build better financial products, and especially around investments.
Okay. This has been a theme for us recently with COVID. This has been a theme for us this hasn't been a theme for us recently with a bit of a bull run. Okay, in the crypto space. And actually, you and I don't think we've chatted too much since then. Has this positively affected the business, or can you not say about what's gone on recently?
Well, I mean, ultimately, whatever is driving interest into these new technologies is good in my book. So basically, more and more people are interested in cryptos now that there's been a bull run and Bitcoin is at all-time highs, and Ethereum really, which is the more interesting one. The world computer that you can build these things on is gaining traction as well alongside with it. So ultimately, it's a good thing for us. Obviously, we don't deal directly with cryptocurrencies currently, but basically we use the technologies underneath to enable these sort of next generation investment products. So basically tokenizing assets, and those tokens then live on the blockchain, and then they're liquid and get all the benefits of blockchain. So 24/7, 365 days a year availability and censorship free. So basically there can't be a Robin Hood who stops taking orders because nobody controls it. It's decentralized among the global computer called Ethereum.
Yep. Okay. In your opinion, or Upvest's opinion, what do you feel is a better financial word? Just referring to, I think, some of your terms. And I guess, how can we align that to the mission? So understanding a little bit more about Upvest's mission, which is that, can we understand that a bit more as an audience?
Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, these kind of technologies is where all this financial infrastructure is going to go at some point, be it whatever current blockchain or some future blockchain. But this sort of decentralized technology, so that you're not dependent on middlemen, and basically moving the abstraction level higher. So you build on things, and this is basically like internet is now. It's your connectivity underneath. You don't really pay attention to it, but underneath there, then all this infrastructure will be this decentralized ledger technology where things can get settled faster and more cost efficiently than in current systems, and without anybody being able to censor what happens there. So I mean, obviously, that's still sort of in the early days of it. It's a bit like World Wide Web in the late 90s. That it's really the early days, but we can't even see where it's going to be in 20 years. But the future is bright there. To me, it's really, like I said, we are building two sides of the same sort of thing. We're providing APIs for you to build products that use the current infrastructure, so buying ETFs and invest in stocks. and things like that, but then also provide this future model already where we are the custodian of your tokenized assets, and you can safely build on that. And I think it's going to go somewhere in the middle. Like Germany is leading the way in regulation. So this crypto custody, for example, is now you have to have a banking license from the BaFin. So we are one of the first companies to have that crypto custody license to be able to do this legally, be that custodian. And I think it's going to go EU-wide. The legislation will follow, but I think it's ultimately a good thing so that people know and they can trust players, because to be honest, blockchain has been a wild west for a long time because it came from the ground up, technologists and hackers first. And then there's been so many different kinds of scam projects and projects where not really proper kind of due diligence has been done. So now with the industry maturing and getting some regulation, I think it's ultimately going to benefit the things. Obviously, the decentralized nature and will move out to the fringes, these all kinds of shady businesses, but be able to have the big wide audience trust these systems and be willing to put money into that and trust that their money is safe. That's really ultimately a good thing.
Okay. Where do you think some of your hard technical challenges come from? As CTO, that might necessarily derail from learning a little bit more about the mission. I'm just keen to understand. There's regulation. There could be elements of localization to come. It's still a maturing space. Where do some of those technical challenges come?
Ultimately, underneath the technology is global. Like blockchain, it's instantly a global reach, and you just plug into it locally, and then it propagates through the network, which is decentralized. So there's no limitations on the technology side on what you can do with blockchain, for example. Obviously, for the more traditional side, we have to do like integrations to local vendors and backing systems in every country and all that stuff. But that's our business, so we want to hide that complexity. So you only integrate one API from Upvest, and you get coverage across a lot of different exchanges and things like that. So that's on the sort of normal retail investment API side. Yeah, like I said, technology isn't really the problem here. It's usually these regulations and the different landscape. Every country has their own sort of quirks on how you do things. And EU is good because you can passport these licenses across EU. But for example, now with the UK, you guys decided that you don't want to be a part of that common area anymore. So for the UK, it'll present different challenges then, that okay, we have to go and get a FCA license to be able to operate there instead of a BaFin license. Technically, these are super interesting problems, but there's no magic to it. It's just about figuring out what's the best way to make this thing happen. That's, to me, as an engineer, really the interesting bit.
Yeah. What I think is quite interesting is you talk a little bit about hiding that complexity away from customers and doing everything that sits behind that. I find that fascinating. I can understand not necessarily that's where it becomes difficult, but it's a smart team or a smart engineer that can mask that. So good for you guys. Help us break down, I guess, your Securities API and your digital API, and let's just understand those a little bit more.
Yeah. So our original product is that digital asset custody. But now, as we are extending our product and bridging the gap, so to say, we're talking about the Upvest investment platform, basically. And we have two products on the platform, which is a digital asset custody product. So basically, we are the custodian for those assets that you or your project have. But in there, we actually work with partner. So we have a partner called Micro-frontends, for example. And they're the company who comes to you and helps you implement your tokenization project. That, okay, I want to tokenize this real estate project and sell it to my investors as tokens. Micro-frontends works with you directly, and then we work together to provide that backing custody platform for that, so that your assets are safe and your customers have access to them and all that stuff. But I mean, in the future, we might provide similar services, but that's not in our interest right now. We have great partners to help us do that. But what we are putting a lot of resources into it now is this retail investment API, which is the second pillar in the platform. And the retail investment API is basically really providing these easy to use, integrate once APIs where you can then build your own financial products to your end users. So allowing you to build savings plans or roundups or cashbacks, and then feed those into like index funds for people to save up for a rainy day. And also part of the retail investment API in the future could be that we offer pure cryptos as well. So they're just a different kind of asset class then. So you can buy your Bitcoin or Ethereum, or then you can buy ETFs or Apple stock. All the same, just a unified API, treat all assets sort of similarly, so that you don't need to do a specific integration for each one of them, but just have access to them via easy to use unified API. So 2 pillars on the platform, and who knows what will be there in the future.
Okay. Are you guys and girls talking about what could be the future, or the changing landscape in the financial world, in the digital asset world? Are you having these conversations? And going back to your point, how do we continue to mask that complexity away from customers that use this? So do you continually think about that?
Yes, definitely. And that's really a continuous process of looking at the market and thinking about what would be the best for our clients, for example. So we don't build things just for the fun of it. So we look at our clients and what do they want to do. If you look at these typical potential clients would be neobanks and neobrokers. Like neobanks, Monzos and TransferWises and Revoluts and 26s. They have millions and millions of these more on the younger end millennial customers, and they have some money, but they don't have the time to like learn about investing and all that stuff. But they know that they want to start preparing for the future. So providing all the building blocks, I like to have this Lego block analogy that with these APIs, you basically take these different Lego blocks and build your own products by integrating different kinds of capabilities. So if you need cross-currency transfers, you integrate the TransferWise API. If you need investment products, you integrate the Upvest API, and then you build on top of that. You know best who are your clients and what they need. So basically enabling these next generation of builders and even the current generation on innovating and building new kinds of financial products, and having all the building blocks available to them in the platform, and exposing new APIs. There can be even a case that, okay, somebody has an idea that we would need this, and then we evaluate and see that it's a good idea to also offer to some other people, and then we will build it in the platform. Like custom portfolios, for example. If you're a neobank that wants to offer a custom like a green or sustainable fund for your millennial audience that's interested in value-based investing, you should be able to build your portfolio on top of the building blocks we provide.
Smart. Honestly, it is. I think for someone that is interested in myself, the crypto space, it's constantly evolving. There's so many sources of information, and I think almost like an all-in-one package that can be supplied to you is sometimes, I think, what's necessary, where you can go to one place. Not necessarily that you're a source of information. I'm saying that there's a collective what's on offer and what's beneficial for you, as opposed to, you can go to 10, 15 different exchanges that have their own opinions on what might be best for a specific audience. So I think being able to target that and being able to show people, what you can do, or the differences along the way, is quite nice.
Yeah, that's really the like you mentioned in the beginning, this embedded finance model is that there are all these different aspects in finance that you might want to use in your own products. It's really like embedding these capabilities into your own products. Like we don't build the end user facing products at all. Yeah. We're a B2B2C. So we provide APIs, you build on top of them and provide value to your customers. We provide value to you so that you can move faster and innovate. Like we don't know what your end customers want, or even we could, in theory, build our own customer-facing product, but that would be just one product. Whereas when we are building a platform, we enable dozens and dozens of these products, and that's really what we want to do.
Good. Yeah, smart. Talk to us a little bit about, it's been rife for you. You're well invested. It's clear that you and the business want to grow. Tell me a little bit about, I guess, not necessarily some of the challenges that engineers will face, but you're looking to expand the team. So tell some of the share with us, to some of the tech audience about what they can come in and do, what they can come in and build. Give us more of that.
Yeah. So that's actually the really interesting bit, which is why I've managed to already lure some really experienced people in the industry to join us. But we're really growing rapidly. So I joined last June and we were about 15 people. Now we're 40 people and we'll be probably 60, 70 in a few months' time. So
nice.
And we need engineers really to build all of this stuff. But what's super interesting from an engineer's point of view, I'm a developer at heart. Like that's why I left TransferWise I wanted to still, I'm a much more a builder than just along for the ride. So I wanted to still build this from scratch and build something meaningful. Here, we really do a lot of discovery still and think about what the product needs to be. And we have a lot of like super senior domain expert people from the fintech industry and the investment industry already there. But all of those guys that we've hired as well, they have a certain mindset that, okay, that's the way it's done. How can we do it better now? Rethinking all of these processes that, okay, is that really necessary? And if we can just do this, it's like automate everything that you can as much as possible. So, and make it less error prone. We really do a lot of design, really coming from discovery to requirements, and then really whiteboarding around a Miro, virtual whiteboard in these situations about how does the flow go. Like when we get an API call to this endpoint and make an order of this for quantity of that with price this, starting to really map out and design. It's a greenfield project, this new product. Really mapping out what are all the components we need, how does it need to work. Obviously, there will be like engineering principles and architectural style that's coming from top, like myself, when we've designed how we want to do these things. But ultimately, the teams are really empowered and they get to be a part of really defining what the product is under the hood. So there are some basic things we build on. It's an event-driven system, like any modern cloud-native stuff will be. So try to decouple as much as possible between different domains. So when something happens in an order domain, for example, then we just send out events, and then other domains that are interested in those events, then just listen for those. And like tax reporting, for example, there's no need to have a direct link between those. They just listen to relevant events and then generate tax reports. Similarly, like audit trail logs, they just listen to all the events that need to be in the audit trail and they record them. So really decoupled system built on event-driven mechanism. So Kafka is the backbone for all of that, battle-tested, robust, global scale message broker technology. And super cool technology on top of that with Kafka streaming and all that stuff, which allows really cool things. We need a few really good Kafka experts. But then other than that, it's your pretty standard microservices stuff. We run in the cloud from day one. So containerized microservices with Go, super minimal footprint, distroless containers, small attack surface. We use Google's Kubernetes engine. Then, like I mentioned, Kafka. Then we use basically event-driven is the first choice, but sometimes you have the need for synchronous stuff. So then we try to use gRPC between services. So only place where we expose HTTP, for example, is only at the edge. Like the parts that serve the API are the only places where we use HTTP. All the service-to-service sync stuff, gRPC, async stuff, Kafka. Then we try to use open standards wherever it's possible. So all the API specifications are open API, and then if we do asynchronous stuff, we use async API specifications, obviously protobuf and these kind of things. And even the authentication stuff is standard OAuth 2 stuff, then just sprinkles a bit of dust on top with HTTP signatures so that we use public key cryptography and all that stuff. But yeah, it's really just building a really, like I said, pan-European but global scale, really distributed system with modern technologies. Go being that language for us.
Do you think engineers listening to this, if they find what you're doing compelling, do they need to come from cloud native environments or have worked with distributed systems before? Do you have musts, or Are you open to profiles, and what sort of backgrounds would you look at?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you need to know the basics of how distributed systems work. But ultimately, Go is a simple language. Doesn't mean a necessarily easy language. Like there was a big Hacker News story this week. It's a simple language, but it's super proficient. So some of my best engineers came from a Java company, picked up Go, and now are like loving it. So it doesn't really matter if you know Go yet or not, but as long as you know the principles of how we design distributed systems and know about that. And obviously it's beneficial if you've been exposed to these financial concepts. So it just makes it faster for you to onboard, but even that's sort of not mandatory strictly. So I think we're looking to hire a lot of permanent people in Germany, just because it's easier for our company to hire permanents in Germany. But then, to be honest, the audience is pan-European, like we want to be. So plus minus 4 hours from Berlin is sort of the audience. We have a good partner in iTech Art, and we have a team of developers in Belarus from them. So it's not a problem, really.
Good. Okay. If you are listening, guys and girls, based in Berlin, or if there's opportunities to work remote, reach out to Juha on some of the links below, and he's got everything attached about how you can get in touch, ping him a message, or drop in on Upvest. Before we love you and leave you, is there anything that you're dying to tell us about Upvest, what you're building that we haven't touched on, or that can share more about that embedded finance model? I think you've been quite succinct and been able to cut straight to it and tell us about what you're building, but I want to make sure that we haven't left anything. So is there any key messages that you want to leave us with?
No, one of the things I didn't mention yet is that we also really want to build a great sort of engineering culture and place to work. It's not just like we want people to have a proper work-life balance. So that I know that in some high-growth startups, you get work to death and you really like burn out in a year. But that's not really a sustainable way to build a company. So we really value that and want to have people working at their optimal level and be able to contribute. But also, really, this is a joint effort. Like everybody who's joining now, we're at an early stage, will contribute to the culture that we build together. And also, we want to make sure that people who join stay for the long term. So we are really trying to drive across Germany and Europe also this Silicon Valley mentality that if you give us 4+ years, we have an options program for everybody that joins. So if we do well, you do well as well. Like it's the same mentality that we had at TransferWise. Like, everybody enjoys the success.
What do you think drives a good engineering culture? I certainly use that phrase quite a lot when I'm talking on these podcasts, and it does get banded around on LinkedIn, other platforms. Yep. I'm not saying that in this conversation whatsoever, but what do you think constitutes a good engineering culture? How do you build it? How do you maintain it? That would be useful to explore.
That the difficult bit is how do you build it? I mean, obviously it grows naturally with the people you hire, and it has to come from the top, like the support. Like you can't build a culture unless everybody's on board with it, and that's really what I want to drive here is that people contribute at their optimal level when they feel safe in the environment. They feel that they can always voice their opinion. They get heard, so that it's not always like every decision comes from top down and no, I have to do this because somebody says so. No, it's really like an open discussion. We design these things together. We discuss topics on their merits, not on a personal level. Like you should always feel empowered to contribute and then feel appreciated. So it's really about one of the reasons why people move around so much in our industry is that they don't feel that they're being treated fairly, for example. So that's why we want to have a sort of an open and honest culture, transparency across the board. So I use this term from a book that I've read and used for a number of years already, called radical candor. It means also that you need to be able to talk about even difficult topics honestly and openly, and then realize that, okay, yes, I made a mistake here. I have to own up to it, and then let's learn from it and move forward. That's really the key in this fast-paced organization is that you always take stock and learn and do better the next time. So building this kind of culture where you don't need to be always worrying about what do other people think and be able to contribute what you have to contribute to the organization. That to me is key. It's not just the leadership that builds it. It's all the people who join and help us define what do we want to be known for. I want to, like Martin, the founder, I want to also build a really great place to work in Berlin and Germany and Europe. Like when people think about great places to work, they should think about Upvest in the future when we are big and bold.
Yeah, listening to some of your thoughts, it's a tough one to try and get right. It's a tough one to add to the mix. We're all human. We carry emotions, different levels of self-confidence when you're ready to talk about something, when you're not ready to talk about something. So, and when you add more people to the mix, it can create, I can imagine it can create, at the best of times, some animosity, between teams if you have different ideas on maybe how to design something or how to build something. So not necessarily putting you on the spot, but I can imagine it's hard to not control it. Control it's probably not the right word, but how to create a fair environment for everyone continuously, because we all have feelings and emotions, right?
Yeah. And that's a super important point, is that especially when you're growing a lot, you have to really take special care in what kind of people you bring in. You have to bring in people that you see really contributing not just to the role, but the organization as we need to grow together. But going to back to a bit of that technology bit, we use this sort of cell-based architecture approach. So each domain is sort of encapsulated within, and within that, the owning team is quite free to design how they do their internals. But as long as we agree on that, okay, in this sort of domain-driven design, sort of bounded context, this is what I expose to you guys. This is my contract, that this is a service I provide to you, your teams and your services. But inside here, I'm free to do whatever we think as a team is best to deliver this service to the rest of the company and the platform.
I see. Okay, nice. Like we've discussed, if you're listening, if you want an environment where seemingly everyone really does care about creating a decent culture, a decent engineering culture, and you're coming from a strongly typed background, or you're living in the Go world now, and you want to do some interesting things for the financial world, come and talk to Juha. If you're based in Berlin, great. If you're not based in Berlin, it's no worries at all. Some of the links below, so check these guys and girls out. And Juha, massive thanks. Massive thanks. We'll let you get back to cracking finance.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, mate. I'll see you soon. Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode. Massively appreciate you listening and checking in with us. If you want to find out more about us and what we're doing, please check us out on social media. What we're trying to do at Enginears is build a community to drive knowledge sharing and experiences. On Twitter, we can be found Enginears.io. It's no_. We've also got a website, which is engineers.io. These links will all be posted in the description. Any feedback and comments are massively appreciated. We're always looking to improve on where we can. Thanks, guys.